education to be out here when you can't even read a history book. You should know better. Traitor to your people.
All right, let's talk about what's playing out in New York tonight with Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall, also the author of We Want Equality, How the Fight for Equality Gave Way to Preference, Charles Love. And townhall.com senior writer Julio Rosas, who shot that video that you just start. So welcome to you all, but let's start there. Julio, listen, we've seen these scenes play out across the country where there are protesters who are getting in the face often of African-American officers and taunting them. It looks to take incredible restraint, and that's what they're trained to do. But what have you seen?
Right, exactly. They are definitely getting in the faces of the NYPD officers, and as I've seen across the country, other cities as well. And so they also do like to single out the African-American officers because they kind of view them as they're betraying their fellow Black Americans by being part of the whatever city police force that they're in. And I can say today, not too long ago, once again, there was another Black officer that was being taunted, and some of the agitators, I would call them, was saying that if he took off his badge, that the white officers would kill him just as easily as they would kill another Black person. So they're definitely trying to provoke a reaction of it. And I would also note that oftentimes, not every time, but oftentimes they're kind of doing it without any masks, in the age of COVID, and they're definitely within that 6 feet distance.
I want to play something else from a protester directing comments at police officers. This is from yesterday. This has been going on for days, but here's a little bit more of what they're being subjected to.
I want to put my foot on his neck like he do us. I want to put my foot on his back like he do us. I want to hang him from a tree like he do us.
Leslie, where do we go from here with this rhetoric of these protests? A lot of people feeling like the message that they have, especially one tied to cases like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and others, is getting lost in what we're seeing now. How do we make progress from this point?
I think one of the things, sadly, Shannon, as we know, is we hear a lot of the very negative minority individuals in those protesting groups that say or do things like that, and that really hurts the cause of what the majority of protesters nationwide are trying to accomplish. But then again, are we surprised that it's come to this? When you have worldwide people outraged at the murder of Mr. George Floyd at the hands of police officers saying, "I can't breathe," it is not the first time. It's not even the second time. And still, nothing is done. The protesters are screaming for justice, are screaming for racial justice, and quite frankly, I fear unless they get it, we're going to see and hear more of these incidents. And I just want to say this, there are numerous good police officers out there, and a police officer who's African American should not be demonized for their choice of profession.
Yeah, and just to be clear and be accurate, I mean, there are a number of cases in which police officers have been tried and convicted. I think we're taking this to a new level, though, when there's agreement in bipartisan ways about things like chokeholds and other things, reform that there's a lot of agreement we can move forward on, although they weren't able to get it done on Capitol Hill. Charles, I'm so glad to have you with us. I read this piece that you wrote. I thought it was very interesting, kind of about, the white people who feel like they're in some way helping or contributing, but may actually be making things worse by leading things to defunding police and backing things that you think could end up harming the community more than helping. I want to read a little bit of what you wrote. It says, since they don't have many blacks in their social circles and having conversations with blacks is awkward and can take time, woke whites opt for easy feel-good actions, most of which will have no effect on police brutality, on the quality of black schools or neighborhoods, or on black lives generally. Tell us about why you wrote this piece, what you hope to accomplish.
Well, thank you. I wrote the piece. If you think about what you just talked about and all the clips you just showed, it plays right into the hands of what we're talking about. The issue is not that people care and they want to help, is that they don't have a firsthand experience They don't talk to the people who are in those situations, so they don't know. You have white people speaking on behalf of blacks when they don't know what the problem is. Too many people are focused on the negative. I look at what I call the 80-20 approach. If you thought 20% of black people were struggling, you would want to help them, but you would find a nuanced way to do it. If you think 80% of blacks are struggling, you will say, burn this down. You will say, all cops are this. You would say, defund the police. So the bigger problem is that we're ignoring the positive. We're ignoring that only 2% of blacks commit crime and less than 1% are violent offenders. So I want people to say, instead of Black Lives Matter, we are the 98%. Why not focus on all of us who are doing? If we change the narrative, if people weren't out here thinking things were so bad, they wouldn't be so angry and violent towards each other.
Well, and Charles, you talk about the fact that you think a lot of white people have the misconception that's unfair to the black community, that they are all oppressed, they are all denied any opportunity, that there is no hope within the community, something you included in the piece as well.
Oh, yeah, that's what I think is the most important part. I mean, you look at it, how you think about it is how you're going to try to solve the problem, like I said. So if they look, I asked someone what percentage of blacks did they think were living in poverty, and they said 80%. So, yeah, they think they're helping, but if you thought 80% of us were living in poverty, yes, it makes a difference. If you look at what we do at our organization, Seeking Educational Excellence, it's about empowerment. No one's saying there are no problems in the black community. There are definitely problems, and we all need to work together to fix them, and black and white people can be there just like black people. But the difference is, don't come to us saying that the average person is struggling. The media picking and choosing to show black people go to jail nonstop on the news and not showing white people when they're in jail too, or movies that depict these uplifting roles of black pulling themselves up, but they live in and are mired in negativity throughout the beginning of the movie. We all start to think that. That's the reason why, ask your middle class black friend. They will tell you that they're living well, they have great jobs, they have a wonderful circle, they haven't experienced any police brutality or any racism in the last year, but they'll tell you that we're being hunted down, like LeBron said, because they're hearing it every day. So if you keep showing these images and you keep hearing this, people start to believe it. I say focus on the positive. Help the people that need to be helped, but stop acting like we're all struggling. It's simply not true.
Well, factual information is the best thing we all can use across all of our communities to try to help find ways to encourage and to find real progress. We got to start there. Leslie, Charles, and Julio, thank you all very much. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.